So this is Cage. It's a framework built on Unity and made to develop comic-inspired adventure games, so where everything from balloons to the way that we represent elements in a scene, aka a vignette, is very inspired by classic and modern comics. It's composed of various elements. First and foremost, the map, where we can see all the vignettes that are part of the game, and we can see where every vignette can lead, either via player interaction or via automatic events and things like that. This is, for example, a vignette, which obviously we open from the map. A vignette is composed by various elements that are normal Unity objects that when we add to a vignette are automatically converted into a vignette element that allows us to manipulate them in various ways. For example, here we have a description when it's clicked once, and then we decide what happens when it's double clicked or double tapped, and in this case we take an item and we start the dialogue. Then we can choose based on what variables this item is visible. We can also decide to, for example, allow it to be combined with an inventory items, and if that happens, we start a dialogue and do something about it, and things like that. An important part of Cage is Outspoken, which is a separate dialogue editor, but with which Cage interacts a lot. For example, let's open it from here. It's a very complex but also very writer-friendly dialogue editor that can contain both normal text nodes, choices, conditions, and also other type of nodes that we don't see here. For example, random nodes, or we can implement situations where the first time that you enter a node, you go to one text, the second time to another, the third time, etc., to a different one, and things like that. It also can contain variables. Every variable that is created inside the dialogue editor then is also visible in the game here, so that we can combine the two things and vice versa. It's set up to allow multiple languages and to allow then an easy translation of them by exporting them to CSV in the right format for translators. Then other part of this framework are, for example, in this setup we have global options like language, cursor, etc. We have general dialogues. For example, if we combine an inventory item with an object and there is not a specific dialogue for that thing, or it's just not allowed, instead of considering it in every case, we can just tell it to go here and randomly choose from one of these dialogues to say, okay, this can't be done. Then we have teams. Teams basically for now just allow us to group vignettes together based on a theme, and then to use a specific kind of music for them. Also, I'd like to note that every vignette can have specific options that happen when the vignette is entered or exited. For example, here, the first time that you enter the vignette, if this variable is found true, we start this dialogue. Then obviously we have inventory items, where we can also assign variables. We don't do it in this game, but we did it with others. We assign variables to every inventory item so that the dialogue editor itself can know if that item has been taken or not automatically, and then show different dialogues depending on that. Then we have obviously inventory combinations. Other options that are more general, debug options. One of the important concepts of Cage is to try to avoid as much as possible human errors, so that we have a lot of things that both tell us what is happening in a vignette. For example, in this customized Unity hierarchy, these symbols indicate us that these two objects can be combined with inventory items. This indicates that this is an error that will appear at runtime and that will lead south, and things like that. These are the dialogues that are included in this vignette, both global dialogues and specific dialogues. If for some mistake some evil person deletes one of them, the editor will alert us immediately, so that we can keep things under track. There is also another internal debug system that is mostly working at runtime that I will not show you here, but there's lots of debug. Then we have a build panel that allows us to just group and make builds for different platforms all at the same time. And finally, that's basically it. This is Cage.